adding in technology, because when we get out into the real world, the world is probably going to be more evolved than it is now, so we can't keep teaching how we have been teaching.
Okay. I would agree with that. Who's next? Why did you choose me to interview?
Welcome to our class.
Thanks. Do you want to know what my qualifications are?
Sure.
Well, she said you needed somebody that knew about finance. And I said, well, I keep 4 different budgets for the libraries, so I know a little bit about financing in education. What else did she say you needed? Oh, she said somebody had grant writing experience. I write grants for the library. I've been fairly successful at grant writing, so I know how to write a grant. I also know how to evaluate grants because I am on the Hayworth Education Foundation board, and that's what we do. We have funds that we would like to give out to teachers who have innovative ideas for education. And that's sort of our mission. And so what the teachers do is they fill out a grant form, and I'll bring one up so you can see what it looks like. And we evaluate those and decide whether or not we're going to fund those projects. And not everything gets funded. So, oh, and also as a librarian, I do a lot of purchasing. And one of the things that are offered from the vendors that I work with is things like furniture, classroom supplies, things that sounds like what you guys might be looking for this project. I don't know, because I don't know the details of your project yet, but I also have access to discounts on those items. So you might keep that in mind. So those are my qualifications: finance, discounts, grant writing, evaluation. Who wants to know something else? Yep.
How do you research the grants?
Well, the first thing I do with grant writing is you need to be very, very careful about what the group that's going to maybe give you money is looking for. What exactly is it have they asked you to provide or to answer? Because if you don't answer their question, that's the first thing they will do. The evaluators will just say, did this person answer the question? No, they're done. And they'll throw that one aside and go to the next one. So you want to make sure that you're truly following the organization's questions or requirements for their money. And then for the research, it depends on what I'm asking for. For example, right now I'm writing a grant to try to get $1,500 worth of nonfiction books, that's a pretty good amount. They've asked that it go with a program that collaborates with another teacher. So I had to go and find a couple other teachers that would collaborate with me. We created a project. Now I have to sit down and write down what that project is. I have to stay within their word limit, because usually grants have a word limit of, 500 words, 2 pages, depends, different ones have different things. So I would say that's the #1 thing that you want to do. Make sure you're fulfilling what the grant funders are asking you. Because not every grant that you want matches some criteria for something.
How do you persuade people in your grant writing to go to one?
I try to make my projects look really innovative and fun, and that they will really benefit students. Because I find as a librarian that is really what people want to do. They want to benefit the students. They don't just want to make your library look pretty or have the most books, or they want to know what kind of impact that's going to make on students. So I try to make sure that I say that with details. Students will be able to do this. use our EBSCO database quite a bit. I use the part of the database called ERIC because that is the academic and a lot of college articles. And so I can use other people's research. So in my grant, I could say something like, well, according to the research done by the University of Illinois, and then I'll quote a piece of that. So it looks like I've also read this research, which I probably have at that point. So yeah, I go and find other people's work. I don't just say, oh, I've noticed in my library that this happens. It's really good if you can find a piece of research to back that up.
What are some ways we can organize new books, everything for a classroom?
There are all kinds of online programs that will organize books for you, just like a library. And I can get you the names of some of those. I use one at my church because we didn't want to do a full-blown Dewey Decimal System kind of thing. We wanted something easier, so we organized by color. And then we just scanned them all into this online, basically it's a little database. We just bought ourselves a little scanner and scanned them all in. You'll need to decide too, like what kind of shelving or how you're going to keep them. If you want shelving or if you're going to go with milk crates or whatever.
What type of furniture do you, and this is a dumb question, but what do you think furniture would be best for this room?
Wow, I never really thought about it. Of course, as a librarian, I kind of like librarian-y things, so I like proper shelving units, things that aren't going to fall apart, something really sturdy. And I also like soft, comfy chairs. But then you would have to think too, obviously you guys need to get classwork done. You're not just reading in here. So you are going to need some sort of tables and chairs. I guess when I decorate my house too, I think, what is this room gonna be for? What kind of things am I gonna be doing in this room? And then you think about, okay, so if that's what I'm doing in this room, these are the kinds of furniture I'm gonna need. Form follows function. Have you ever heard that quote? It's actually from an architect. And what he meant was that the form of whatever you create needs to follow the function, whatever it is you're gonna do. So whatever it is you're doing, you need the proper tools to do that. Who else has got something? You need to ask me more about the Hayworth Education Foundation.
How can we get approved by an HEF grant?
Well, I think you should look at what does the HEF do and what kind of things have they granted in the last 2 years and what have they not granted. And I can tell you that one of the HEF's biggest criteria is that the project be innovative. So we won't generally grant funds for something that has always been done here at Hayworth and you've just run out of money to do that. We won't grant funds for that. Excuse me. We won't grant funds for anything that the school should be paying for anyway. So, for example, if the school should be buying you textbooks, we're not going to pay for that because the school should be paying for that. We want something above and beyond what the school is paying for. And it needs to be innovative. It needs to be special in some sort of way. Something that you could not have done because the school board or Mr. Asmus or whoever has the money said no.
How would you like research or whatever, like what the HEF has been granted?
Well, I'm currently the secretary of the ATF, so I happen to know what all they've funded in the past couple of years, so I could get you a list. I do know that we tend to turn things down that are simply technology requests. For example, over the summer, a couple of teachers asked for Chrome carts for their classrooms. They wanted their own in their classroom, they weren't gonna share it with anyone else, and that request was turned down. Not because we don't want you to have technology, we do, but we felt it was, A, something the school should be providing anyway, which the school is trying to provide as much as it can. But we didn't really feel like it was our job to supplement that. And the school already has a plan in place, and we're already looking at one-to-one. Do you know what one-to-one is? One student, one computer. Everybody gets their own. You rent them, and you get to keep it when you're done. So the school's already looking at one-to-one in the next couple of years, and so HEF was thinking, well, why should we spend $40,000 or $20,000 granting these two teachers a Chrome cart when in the next year or two, everybody's getting a computer anyway, and we will have thrown away our $20,000. So we look at those kind of things. We asked Mr. Zopel to come in, and we say, what is the school planning? What kind of budget is coming up in the next couple of years for the school? HEF has become, the board has become a lot more picky about not becoming the grantor of technology funds. Unless it's truly innovative, unless you're truly using it in a new and different way. Because there for a while, it felt like everybody who wanted a new piece of technology was coming straight to us.
What advice do you have for writing proposals?
Make sure you're following their requirements. Make sure you have stayed within whatever limits they have. If they've said 500 words, then you count your words, or have your computer count them. Make sure it's spelled correctly, and that the grammar is good. Because there's nothing that will doom you faster than having spelling errors and problems all the way through something. When you're asking someone for a whole lot of money, they don't really want to hand it out to people who don't look trustworthy. And those spelling errors and grammar errors really make you look less than perfect. So answer their questions, stay within their length limits, make sure it's as spelling perfect and grammar perfect as you can make it. And be concise. But you usually have to, because usually that's why they have length limits.
When you're writing like the Grantor proposals, how do you make it sound like you're gonna be innovative?
I think about my project and I try to come up with a way to make it sound, and hopefully it doesn't just sound that way, but it actually is something I haven't done before. For example, this nonfiction book one. I mean, obviously, every library would love to have $1,500 worth of free nonfiction books. So how can I make myself stand out? Well, I need to come up with a project that's going to sound different than everyone else's project. So I don't want to just say, oh, we're going to do book reports with these fabulous new nonfiction books, because everybody does book reports with fabulous nonfiction books, or they could. So I need to come up with some angle, some reason why my project is special. And so one of my angles that I'm trying to write in there right now is that, you know, we have this new Common Core curriculum coming in, and teachers are laying out what their lesson plans are. And so I would like to have some nonfiction that goes along with what I already